Transformation is easy to celebrate when everything is moving forward. The weight comes off, you get stronger, you accomplish the goal, you win the competition. But I think we learn a lot more about ourselves when progress gets interrupted. And today's guest has experienced both. Welcome back. This is the Own Your Shift podcast, and I'm your host, Virginia Bain. Today, I'm excited to bring you a very special guest. I first met her a little over 2 years ago at the UFE bodybuilding competition, where we were both competing, and have been inspired by her and her journey ever since. Our guest is Amanda Will. If you follow her on socials, you may know her better as Foxy. Amanda is a bodybuilder, mom of two boys, wife, coach, full-time auto worker, and the founder of Fit by Foxy. Her transformation started after undergoing a full hysterectomy in 2021. At 5'1" and nearly 200 pounds, she knew something needed to change, not only for herself, but for her family. She ultimately lost 80 pounds through nutrition and exercise. Then something unexpected happened. She went to watch a bodybuilding competition and fell in love with the sport. A former gymnast, Amanda recognized something in that environment that felt similar, so she spent the next year preparing for that exact competition she watched. And in 2024, she stepped on stage for the first time, self-coached, and won the overall and her figure pro card. She went on to compete at the UFE World Championship and later entered the CPA King Kong Open Championship as a natural athlete, where she won the figure overall. But Amanda's next challenge wasn't going to happen on a bodybuilding stage. After 2 shoulder dislocations, she underwent major shoulder stabilization surgery in April of 26 and is now rebuilding with her sights set on a 27 comeback and ultimately earning her IFBB Pro card. And somewhere along the way, her own transformation started becoming something bigger. She created Fit by Foxy, began coaching others, and has a bigger vision of one day opening her own gym, complete with a posing room and stage. Amanda, thank you so much for being here, and
Hi,
welcome
thank
to
you
the
so
Own Your
much.
Shift podcast.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. I am very excited to be here. This is probably, I think, the second time I'm sharing a little bit of my journey. The first time when I was sharing, I was on a little bit of an interview. It wasn't a big interview. I was just starting my bodybuilding journey. So to me, I'm in a really good spot now, and I'm kind of in a mental place where I am willing to share and to help people, and I've kind of got my footing as to who I am again and what I want to do with my life. I mean, especially after all that I've been through. Yeah, I mean, I started my journey just not too long ago, 2021. I needed a full hysterectomy. I had my 2 kids, but in between my 2 kids, I ended up with 2 miscarriages, which left me with a lot of scarring. So my grandmother and my mom both had hysterectomies young. So I knew kind of it might have been an option for me, along the lines. And so since having that, it took me about a year to kind of regulate my hormones again. But after that surgery, I dedicated my life to fitness, and not only mine, but my husband. He's been on his own journey of his own. He's been in and out of doctor's offices his whole life. He has kidney issues, enlarged organs, and things like that. So we've been dealing with that our whole lives. And so for me, being that large and not in control of my own body, basically, and then especially after COVID, everyone gets sick. We all had COVID. Everything got worse. We weren't sure what the symptoms were or how it affects our bodies after. And I was determined to stay around for my 2 kids. They're 7 and 9 now, and dad has not had the best track record. And I am determined to stick around and give them the longest life with mom they could possibly have. But I was a former gymnast my whole life. So this, like, being in a gym is nothing new to me. But once I found bodybuilding, it was kind of like I lost that little piece of myself after having kids and having a family. And then you're kind of searching for what kind of drives you every day, what goals you want, what this and that. And it takes a long time to kind of figure out what you want to do with your life, what kind of makes you tick, what makes you get up every day, what are your goals? What do like, we have our houses, we have things that we like to decorate or keep clean, but what makes you drive as a person? Because we all have goals, we all have little things that we like to do. And I know that I'm a very physical person. And my husband is a very intellectual person. So he likes to be home. He's a homebody, loves video games, likes to go and do little like fishing and quiet tasks like that. And I love doing that also, but I need to get this ball of energy out every day,
Yeah.
if you will. So, and my second child, he's ADHD as well. So I needed that energy to kind of keep up with him and to to kind of realize what he's going through. So it's kind of
Yeah.
an outlet for him as well. We have little baby weights at home that he likes to do with me too. And so it's kind of an outlet, not just for me, but now everyone's moving more, and it kind of shows like when I'm happier and I'm, in my element, you kind of project that on to the rest of your family too. And
Yeah.
especially your kids, they're like sponges and they're soaking up everything. And it's so cool to see, like, the more I'm learning about lifestyle and coaching and fitness, the more my kids are learning about it and the more they're telling their friends and they're excited and they're like, I'm going to go for a walk and be physical. Like it's so cool to see them wanting to do things outside of the house and not just be stuck behind the TV, because this generation is so,
Hmm.
it's a whole different, like, I remember my mom telling me, I need you to come back by the light when the street light comes on.
Yeah, that
And
was
now
me
I'm like, I
too.
need you to get out. Like, I need you out of the house. It's a whole different world. And I think physical activity, any which way you can get it, is healthy. And there's so many things we can be doing out of the house, even in the house, to keep our
Yes.
bodies moving.
Well, I think it's hard now because before, like kind of like you mentioned, when we were younger, like physical activity happened organically where it doesn't happen
Yes.
that way anymore. Now, physical activity, which is such a natural part of human nature, needs to be planned and scheduled, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, it can be difficult, especially when not everybody would want it organically. Like kind of, I have a similar, I guess, relationship with my husband, like similar in the fact that he's not really, he doesn't love strength training. He doesn't really love anything physical that's structured that way. Like when we go, we have a cottage and we go up north. Like he likes going out for hikes and walks when it's like that. But if you told him, hey, we have to walk on the treadmill, or let's just go for a walk for the sake of walking,
Yeah.
it's like there's no point in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has like so he would be active if it could happen organically. The problem is that life now isn't structured that way. And if you wait for
Yeah.
that organic movement, unfortunately, we'll all be couch potatoes.
Yeah, yeah, I think my husband's the same way too. Like he loves being outdoors and doing things when it's not scheduled. And I think that's part of the thing too is like when I first started at the gym, like it wasn't fun. I was
No.
there at ridiculous hours in the morning by myself. No one wants to do that, but with the proper structure and consistency, like you can't fail, especially with a caloric deficit. If you're moving your body consistently every day, I knew that there was no way that I was going to get in shape. Like that's
Hmm.
just, but it took a lot. It took a lot, and there was a lot of backlash. I remember even the neighbors talking because I would go to the gym with people from work. And
Yeah.
because my husband and I work opposite shifts, he works automotive as well, but he does bumpers for trucks.
Hmm.
And I do a different line of work in a different facility. So we work opposite shifts. And so there was a lot of backlash to like, oh, well, she's going out with another guy or she's going out with people from work. And I'm like, it's not like that. Like
Yeah.
I just needed someone to keep me, I wouldn't say motivated because motivation is just what you make it. And I think consistency wins overall. There's going to be things that you don't want to do in your day, but those are the things that you're going to be super proud of once you accomplish those in your day. So like
Yeah.
every day, like I'll wake up and I'm like, I don't want to eat breakfast. Well, you know what? That's not healthy for you. I know I need to eat breakfast. I know I need to, I need some sort of energy for my day. So instead of eating a full breakfast, I'll put a scoop of the protein powder in my coffee,
Hmm.
little goals like that, or even switching from sugar to sweeteners, little things
Hmm.
like that adds up over time. And it took a long time. Like it took me about a year to get my 80 pounds off. But that wasn't strength training. That was basically just a lot of cardio. Yes, I increased my protein, but it takes a long time to, kind of do a whole body composition. And then you have to kind of get all those little fat layers
Yeah.
off and then rebuild from there. So it's a big process. It took me about 2 years to get on stage, and it wasn't something I was planning on at all.
No, I was gonna say, so when you first started, so after the hysterectomy, when you first started and you just knew you had to lose weight,
Yeah.
was the 80 pounds like a goal you had set? Like, was it always 80 pounds, or
No.
did that kind of keep changing as you started losing weight? So what was the first goal? So,
So
you
my
know,
first goal, honestly, was like 5 to 10 pounds. That was my goal. I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to move better. I had a lot of asthma and things like that. I was on inhalers and I couldn't even walk up the stairs properly without being like winded. And I'm like, so for me, my main goal was just to get my cardio better and my lungs in better shape. So I started with a lot of cardio and I started with a lot of, let's cut a lot of carbs that were unneeded, sugars and candies
mhm,
and things that we all snack at night. And like I set a time for myself at night, nothing past 9 o'clock p.m. no matter what shift I was on. So, and if I did have to have something, if I was on an afternoon shift and I was working till like 10:30, it would be something like a Rice Krispie square, something that's going to give me some sort of fuel without a lot of fats or carbs, things like that. That is a fast burning carb at the end of the day when I'm still at work. But my goal was as soon as I'm home, I'm not eating like from that shift, like because as soon as you stop eating and you keep putting more in your body, your metabolism starts to slow down, and that's when we have issues. But no, 5 to 10 pounds was my goal, and then I hit the 15-pound mark, and I went, okay, this is pretty cool. I'm feeling great. Let's continue and see where this goes. So around the 1 year mark, I hit a goal that I never even could fathom with
Yeah.
you, and
And
I
was that
dropped
the
80
80 pounds?
pounds.
Yeah.
80
And when was the
pounds.
last time you were that light pre this? Like, was it pre kids,
Oh my
even before
goodness.
that, or?
Well before I got married. I was probably when I was playing rugby in grade 10, I think I was
Yeah.
around 130 pounds. And then I remember graduating high school at like 150 pounds. So to get up to
Hmm.
like almost 200, I'm like, okay, like, and a lot
Yeah.
of it was medical related, because I couldn't move so much. So I started feeling, but then COVID hit. It was a whole thing. But yeah, I just didn't stop. And then after I lost my 80 pounds, you feel on top of the world. No one else understands your goals, but just to
Yeah.
get there, just that whole journey, it just makes you feel and appreciate life a little bit more. And then I saw that stage for the first time, and I just remember sitting there with my friend, and he looked at me and he went, this is you. And he just looked at me and he said, I've never seen your eyes so big. I've never seen you on fire like that. You have to do this. And so for the next year, I saved every penny I could because, my husband's off a lot with his health and
Hmm.
stuff. So I saved every penny I could. I trained as hard as I could. I did all the research I could because I knew I couldn't afford a coach.
Hmm.
I didn't care what I looked like on that stage. I was determined to get up there, and I did it, and I won my pro card. And I'm still looking back at the photos going, that can't be me. Like, I'm still like,
Yeah.
no way. It's crazy to me that, like, with the proper consistency and just, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's just little baby steps each day, and those little baby steps, it's like a little goal, and your body just goes, yes,
Hmm. I
yeah.
always equate it, it's like the snowball, right? Like you just keep rolling it and rolling it, and eventually you've got this huge snowball. But it started off, like a
Yeah,
simple snowflake, right? And you just got to keep building on that, and eventually you have something amazing.
yeah,
Uh, but I
it's so
also think,
cool.
like, touching on the show, like going to one and then seeing your pictures, which I think a lot of people don't really understand either. Like, one, seeing shows live and in person, no matter what it is, whether it's, a natural, like a UFE show, or whether it's the CPA, or even if you're going into like the Olympia and the bigger stages, see all these people on social media and then through those photos. And I think a lot of people really miss that, like, they don't really look like that, right? Like seeing on stage and behind stage, of course the physiques are incredible, but the photos and the videos and everything else make them seem so much more unattainable, where people don't realize that it's, everybody kind of has access to build those bodies if they want it. If you're looking at the right body, like if you're going to be natural, you need to look at a natural. Like, enhanced bodies need to be enhanced, and people can't look that way without, the extra edge of
Yeah, and
muscle building drugs.
this is a kind of like a cool topic too, because my first show with UFE, it's all natural. It's an all
Hmm.
natural show. And so last year I decided I'm going to continue being a natural athlete and competing at an open level show. And to see the differences in that is really, really crazy as well. Now with figures, a little different. And people, I've had so much backlash with that as well. You can't do that. There's no way. You're not going to win. And I'm like,
Hmm.
with figure, it's different. And they've just put out an announcement about it as well. Figure is all about balance and symmetry. So they're not looking for the biggest muscle, the hardest muscle. They're looking for symmetrical from top to bottom, left to right, a
Hmm.
tiny little waist. So that hourglass, that X factor. And so it is obtainable. And I never thought in a million years that as a natural athlete, I could compete in an open level show and take the overall. I
Yeah.
was blown away. And it comes down to your posing, which is huge,
Yes.
in how you present your body. And I have a lovely posing coach as well, Tamara Vaughn. She's wonderful, and she is a 5-time Olympian as well for fitness.
Hmm.
So it is very similar to figure with the posing. I just don't have that crazy routine because I don't think I could do that part. But
Oh, you're a
yeah,
former gymnast. You've got to pull it back out.
Oh no, I don't know. I could get hurt. That's what scares me now.
I
You know,
know.
and that's what brings me to my next point is I am literally 16 weeks out from post surgery right now from shoulder
Hmm.
surgery. So that is part of the challenge of competing as a natural athlete in a open level show as well is you're putting your body through a lot more than what you would a natural show.
Yeah.
And that
And
that just is a lot on
And I
you.
think it's twofold that people don't understand because one, it's like when people are taking like enhancement drugs to help them out, they don't have to train as much and they don't have to diet as hard because the body, uses all the fuel to build muscle like
Yeah,
it. But also when they do get injured, they can also take other peptides and things to help with the injury where in a natural where you're being tested, you can't, right? Like so in terms of like having a surgery where maybe you could utilize like a peptide like BPC 157, you can't do that if you're competing naturally. So it's like
correct.
even though it would be something that could help you rehab and has nothing to do with how you're building or putting on muscle. Like you essentially would still be a natural athlete.
Yeah, there was a time between shows that I did a 1 week trial of BPC
Mm-hmm.
157 with TB 500, and it was under the watch of my nurse friend and my coach. And my surgeons all knew about it. And I did blood work before and after with my
Mm-hmm.
doctor. And I didn't find any difference. But again, I had an injury that was on the verge of needing surgery anyway. And it
Mm-hmm.
was basically the last leg to say, is this going to work or not? So at this point, I would consider myself still natural. I don't
Mm-hmm.
dabble in any of the anabolics or any of that. And it was a week long, but I don't think I would ever do it again just because it I don't see a
Yeah.
reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a last resort. I had done 4 rounds of cortisone shots already, and my surgeon and physio had already been talking about surgery in the future anyway.
Yeah.
So it was kind of our last like, let's give it a go and see if it helps to get me through.
Well,
We were supposed to last until June and it didn't.
and
So
I mean, if it did help, a lot of times if they're testing, it's going to be out of your system either. And I think that's another thing that
yeah.
a lot of people don't understand too. And I think it happens more so in the more competitive natural streams as people go, where people like see these natural athletes, but it's like they were enhanced at some point and now
Yeah.
they've decided to stop taking
Yeah.
say steroids or any other things and now it's been long enough that they wouldn't test positive so they're allowed to
Yes.
then be
Yes.
on stage and studies already show like if you do it once to build your muscle you retain a lot of that so it really
Yes.
isn't equal but how do you ever prove that right so I
Exactly.
mean for some people that when they go and compete on the natural stage and they think oh some of it's genetic sometimes it is and sometimes it's not
Yeah,
being
and you'll
done
see a lot more like natural bodybuilding competitions now. They're actually bigger than
yes.
open level because everyone wants to do the natural thing and it's a thing to do. And I'm going the opposite route. I feel
Hmm.
like for me, I like the challenge because I know that people are going to be on whatever they want to be on. But I think it's a personal goal. I would not, I don't think it's unfair. I think it is totally up to you what you want to compete as. And I don't think if you're competing as an open athlete and someone's taking something and you're not, well, that's fine. I chose to be there and I
Hmm.
chose to be at that level of competition. I could easily go to natural, but for me, I like the challenge of it.
Hmm.
And because I work such a physical job, the prep part isn't the hardest part for me. The hardest part is actually building muscle because my body gets so used to moving such heavy things all day that actually building more muscle is harder for me. My preps are usually only about 13 weeks because I do so much cardio in my day. So
Hmm.
all I have to really maintain is just when I eat and how much I eat, and then just dropping calories slowly over time. So for me, the open level is a little bit more structured towards what I want as a goal. The
Yeah.
Olympia stage is calling my name one day and I plan on being up there as a natural athlete. And again, it's different than like if you were to be a bikini or wellness or physique because they are completely different looks, you
Yeah.
need that hard muscle look. What I think with figure is if you come in lean enough, you don't need to have such hard muscle. They're looking almost for a softer sweep around those muscles. So
Hmm.
there's a
Because they
fine
want you
line.
to look fuller, not harder.
That's just it. Yeah, they want fullness. They still want separation, but not too hard. They don't want too conditioned at all. So there's a very fine line with figure. And this is why I love this category, because you can be natural. And for
Mhm.
2 years I got so much backlash on it, and I'm saying no, I can do it. We can do it. Like
Well,
it's possible, you know.
and
And
like
it is,
anything, if
you
you
know.
don't try, you'll never know, right? And there's
And
no
that's
harm
just
if you
it.
and if you don't care, like if you're there for the experience and the journey and really
Yeah.
not the placement, but if you're
Yeah.
genuinely there to just see and you get the feedback and you see where you stack up, you
Yeah.
almost have to do one where you don't place well so you understand where you stand. So
Yeah.
then you know what you need to improve on, right?
I agree. I think you need to fail to be better. And I went to UFE Worlds a couple of years ago and didn't place as good as I thought I was going to. I placed fourth out of seven. And I had in my mind I was going to do so much better and this and that. But you know what? It's almost like you have to get slammed down a few times,
Mhm.
because the next season I came back better and stronger and more conditioned and a better mindset. And you know, you can't go in thinking you're the best. You have to want to hopefully be the best, but
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have to get kicked down here and
Especially in a
there.
sport like bodybuilding because it's so
100%.
subjective. It's you're at the mercy of whoever is on that judging panel and
Yes.
you have no idea. So you could be the best
Yep.
and still not win
Yep.
because you weren't the best in their eyes. So I'm going to
Absolutely.
go through the phases and build myself exactly what my ideal physique looks like. And if that's not the number one physique for the stage or for those judges at that time, I'm totally fine with it if it's like my number one physique, because at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
I'm the one living with the body. And that's more important than, you know, losing muscle in one area or dialing things down a certain way just to fit what the criteria is that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I just find it so cool that you can change so much in a
Mm-hmm.
span of just a short period of time. And yeah, I think if you are competing, and even if you're not competing, that's why I always say it's so important to take photos,
Mm-hmm.
because you may think you look a certain way, but in a week you look completely different. And with my program, and now I did a whole month just to show my clients, you know, day by day, that even if you're in a calorie deficit, which I was,
Mm-hmm.
I still went up almost 2 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to what your lifestyle is at the time. And
Yeah.
that's what my point was. I knew I was going to gain weight, and because I
Yeah.
wanted to on purpose, because I know where I'm sitting and I know that my lifestyle tells me I need to build muscle to recover. And even in a calorie deficit, it's still possible to gain weight if you're recovering or your lifestyle is not as, you know, as
Active.
active as, yeah, as you want it to be. So all these factors come into play, and so many women get so upset and frustrated, and they're like, well, I'm doing everything right. That's okay, because you can
Mm-hmm.
stay the exact same weight or even gain weight, but your body can change in so many other different ways, and it might feel completely different than the way you look or the way that you're weighing in. So it's
Absolutely.
just a cool way, especially with hormones. I find with women, and myself being premenopause, because I've
Mm-hmm.
had a hysterectomy. I still have my ovaries, but I don't have a uterus, which means that some months I'm like, what the heck's going on? Like, I don't have a period anymore, so I can't regulate when things are happening much anymore. But once in a while, I'll get that like month where I'm like, this would be the time. And
Yeah.
you know, everything, like I'll be sweating for a week straight, and I'll have these headaches, and then I'm freezing. Like it fluctuates. And so we have to be patient with our bodies. And just because we have a bad 1 or 2 days does not mean the next days after that we're going to just fail at everything. You know,
Yeah.
we just keep moving on with life, and just be appreciative, because our bodies can do so much more than what we think they can.
Absolutely. Well, and that kind of takes us to mindset, which I want to touch on to kind of bring it back to your journey. And then, you know, you lost all the weight, then you see a show, you compete, you win a couple overalls. You're probably like riding high at that point, right? Like you're like on top of the world. Everything you're doing
Absolutely.
is, you know, is going your way. Then and you're getting ready to do another show, like you're prepping, right? You want to do a pro show, you're looking at that pro
Yeah.
card, and then you get derailed
Yeah.
by injury. And the reality is like you're coming onto this injury not so far past your first transformation. And a lot of people getting that news, and I'm sure you did, you know, spiral for a little bit, dwell in a sense of pity, like, you know,
Yeah.
But you didn't stay there long, obviously, because you're here now and we're not that far from,
No.
you're only 16 weeks out, you said, right? Walk us through what that felt like, what your mindset was like and what it was that kind of helped you get back to your ultimate goal and to who you are now, right? And who you want to be, as opposed to letting your beliefs of who you were kind of sink back in and pull you down.
I actually have yet to compete uninjured. So the first time I ever competed, I still had this injury that it's been ongoing kind of for a few years. And the problem was the socket around the shoulder cap, so the labrum was loose. And so with cortisone and stuff, we were hoping to help that over the last couple of years. And it hasn't been too much of an issue. I was still able to do my posing and train modified, not
Mhm.
so much chest and things like that, but around that area. So it wasn't too bad. And then, yeah, right around Christmas time, I had spoken to the surgeon, and this was after my fourth cortisone shot. And we had discussed that I was going to do my pro qualifier in June at the Toronto Pro Show. And then right after that, a couple weeks later, after I put on a couple, because I was going to just eat, eat and eat, put on a little bit of fat layer, we were going to do the surgery maybe in July. And then the 21st of December, I went to the gym and I didn't even do anything. I was just putting a weight back on the shelf and my
Always
shoulder
the way.
and so I had to call my work and say I can't come to work because everything I do is overhead and heavy lifting. So they put me on SNA 3 months after that to the day because I had to go get all the MRIs and stuff done again. 3 months after that, I dislocated it a second time, just
Mhm.
reaching in front again at home. And this one was even worse. I blew through everything. So the whole labrum in the front and the back, the bicep tendon detached. I dented the humeral head. It was a mess. And then I had to wait a couple more months before the surgery happened. So that was in April. At this point, I'm going, oh my goodness, I have to redo everything that I have ever done in my life for my bodybuilding. And yeah, it was a huge shock. I remember just sitting there and bawling for like an hour to my husband, and he's like, did the goal change though? And I said to him, no, it hasn't changed. He goes, well, then it's just going to be a longer road. And when you get to that road of where you can actually rebuild, you're going to be a whole different person and a lot happier. So that's what I've been holding on to, is that these little bits and pieces that I'm working towards rebuilding, it's all coming back. And the
Mhm.
more that the pain subsides and the more that I'm able to do again at the gym and outside of the house, the more my spirit comes up and the more, I'm a little bit happier and a little bit more myself. I do have bad days. Don't get me wrong. When it rains, it hurts. And physio every single day is hard. It's like one of those movements that you have to do and where it's going to hurt. But I just keep thinking like in another year. So I have set a goal for April of 2027. It's kind of a big goal, but it's for regional. And then depending on how the regional goes, 2 months later is when I'll compete for my pro card. But I don't want to rush anything. I'm still off of work until probably at least November because I'm overhead
Yeah.
and it's repetitive motion. My surgeon is so scared that I might just blow through the scar tissue and then we will have an even bigger injury. So right now it's just about little things. So I am doing a one good upper body day a week and then the rest is just stretching. So and that's just one day with weights and nothing more
Mhm.
than like 10 pounds. And it's just a lot of reps just for a lot of motions. And the thing that's bothering me right now is more or less the bicep tendon. The shoulder itself is healing really, really well and physio is going great. So I'm very hopeful that I'll be on that track.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's days where you have setbacks but I always think too, what would my kids think of what my goals are? I've set these goals, I've told them what my goals are, and do I just quit? Right? You have goals
And,
and you see
and what
these
would you
goals.
say to your kids if they had that and they had something they were super passionate about? You wouldn't say
Absolutely.
you have to give up something you love because you got hurt. You would say no, you find another way to do it, right?
Yeah.
You work
You find another
you work
path, a different way that leads there. Yeah.
yeah, you work around it, right? Like, you know,
Absolutely.
and luckily, muscle memory is a thing and you don't need much to maintain muscle, right? Like you need a lot more to build it, but while you're
Yeah.
maintaining and not losing, the one day a week is sufficient. And it probably allows also not just for your kids, but in your coaching style is giving you a lot of experience to help others with
Yeah.
injury, not even if the same injury, but understanding the process and also being able to reassure someone when they can't train a certain area or they have limitations, that it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
An injury process, which a lot of people, don't have that experience. And
Yeah. And it takes a lot of patience. That's what I'm learning too, is I was so, and I think that I wore myself out, to be honest with you. When you have so much things going on, I think I was sleeping 3, 4 hours a night and you're just getting more and more worn out.
yeah,
And I think this is my body's way, my in life's way of saying, listen, you need to slow down and you need to learn this lesson in life that not everything needs to be done right now. And it's okay to take a day off and rest properly and sleep and say no to the gym once in a while, because I was getting a little bit too crazy. When you get
mhm,
obsessed with something like that for so long and you have these big goals, you don't want anything to stand in your way. But sometimes you need to put your foot down and you need to say it's okay to just rest for a day. It's okay. You need to have a life outside of just bodybuilding. It's just
yeah,
a sport, and so we put so much effort on this sport being our lives. And
mhm,
it's not my life. It's part of my life. And I've had to explain this to my husband too. And, I'm like, it's okay to take a day off. I would rather go and do things with my kids and this and that. Now, if we're sitting around doing nothing in the afternoon, I'll go run to the gym, sure.
yeah.
But, like we have to be okay with being in a life where we're enjoying everything around us, not just that one thing we've decided to do. And
I,
I feel like I've done it. I was obsessed for a long time. I think
mhm.
all of us get to that point once in a while when you first start, especially.
But I think it's such an important lesson for people to get to, and I think it's so hard for so many people. And a lot of it I also think comes down to the why of why people are actually competing too, because some people use it. I like, and I've seen it, and I always find like it's hard to even want to take on sometimes clients that want to do shows because you kind of can see the back motivation and they're almost using it as a way to like to hide an eating disorder. I know, like, even for myself, like I totally feel like it's just something I enjoy, right? Like I like having a goal and I love training. So for me, it's like that just gives me something to work towards to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
always improving so that, it is something fun. But I do find even that part kind of hard because then sometimes I feel like, well, am I not working hard enough as a competitor? But I was like, but you have a life, right? And
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 that's just it, right? And
you can't be
everyone
so selfish all the time.
No. And everyone has a different idea of what your life should look like. And that's the
Hmm.
thing, is this is your life. And I don't ever, especially with clients, I would never want to change what they've already set down as a foundation. We want to find what works within that your life
Hmm.
to make your life better, and so you feel better, and we're not taking away from those parts that you've already created, especially if you have family or like, or jobs. Like, you can't be taking away from time from your family and things like that, because that's the most important thing in life. So
Hmm.
there's a fine line.
Hmm.
And I always say the gym is a great thing because we're all there for the same reason, to better ourselves. I know for me, I used it a lot for my mental for a long
Hmm.
time. When I first started, especially that first half of the year, after I lost like about 40 pounds, I was not in a very good place mentally. And so for me, it was kind of a getaway from everything else going around,
Yeah.
because it was the one place I could control, which is great. However, if you have too much of that control in that one space, then other parts of your life starts, lacking a bit. So that's kind of where I had to have conversations with my kids and my family and find times that worked for them, because it's crazy. And my husband and I work opposite shifts, so we only see each other on the weekends. So now I take Saturdays off. That's a non-negotiable for me. I will not go to the gym on a Saturday unless, of course, there's some crazy reason I have to. That's my non-negotiable. That's my family day, my home day. We do our things on the Saturdays, and then Sunday morning while everyone's asleep, I'll go and do my posing, and then throughout the week is kind of chaotic and crazy all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you have to make sacrifices, and I would never want to sacrifice my family or my kids for things that is a goal for myself.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's important. And I think a lot of people don't hear it from that perspective in terms of training, because I find so many
Yeah.
people that the bigger issue is the nutrition part, right? Like where they're not
Yeah.
eating or they won't eat or they're scared to go out for dinner. Like there's so many things, I guess, and so many facets when you get into competing that can really isolate you, I guess,
Yeah.
in terms of the people around you, especially if, and most people aren't like, there are, and I feel like maybe there are some people that I guess the ones that do compete at a very high level, they're only surrounded by other competitors because that's kind of, so it does become easier for them. But the average person that's doing something, that's surrounded by people that probably not only don't go to a gym, don't even understand, they look at just weighing food as disordered, right? Where it's
Yeah.
understanding fitting into a normal life, but also knowing that there's going to be periods when you're in training, and explaining it in a way so your family and your friends understand that it's not crazy, but it's just like any athlete doing any sport. As you're getting ready for a race
Yeah.
day, for a marathon, runners are out running longer hours. As you're, no matter what it is, whether it's
Yeah.
playoffs for a hockey season for kids or different things, that more time has to go into that, but it has to
Yeah.
just be balanced in a way that it's just those periods of time, right?
Oh, for sure. And like, I feel like with prep, especially, it's a huge one. And a lot of people don't understand how much that affects your family.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but with your partner, because it does affect your sex drive
Mm-hmm.
and your hormone levels. And so people will take that as, well, you're being really cranky, or it's like, well, no, but when your hormones are being affected that immensely, and your sleep's being affected and all these things, and we're expected to be just happy go lucky, it's
Yeah.
very difficult. And so communication with your family and with your partner is really, really big when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to prep. And they're going to be huge involvement in that as well. Like, I know for my husband, he helps me a lot on prep, especially with my meals on Sunday nights. We'll sit down and he'll help me weigh out all my food. We'll put together everything, not because he's doing it, but because he wants to be a part of it. And so it's so good to involve all these different friends and family. So then that way, when you do go out,
Yeah.
for a meal, and they're not looking at you funny when you order just a piece of chicken and a sweet potato, you know?
Yeah.
But again, like, yeah, there, you can go out. You can go out and you can eat. And there's a big balance between people. You look at competitors, especially Olympians, and
Mm-hmm.
they look super lean all year round. Well, it's not the truth.
No.
And the truth is, they're lean all year round because they're competing all year round.
Yeah.
So there are phases where they do go up and down, but for people who are just starting out, who haven't gotten their pro card like myself, yes, I'm a pro at UFE, but I'm not competing 2, 3, 4 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's healthy to have a layer of fat on your body, and I still struggle with it sometimes too, because I was a bigger person. And so putting weight back on is hard, but I know if I control it and I check, I'm tracking my macros every day, I know that I'm not going to let it go out of control, because there's
Mm-hmm.
no way. If you know exactly what's going in your body every day, and you know exactly how much you move every day, then then there's no way going backwards. But it is still a fear. There's still a fear that I'm going to put on too much, or this. And it's not even that, it's how you feel. You put
Yeah.
on weight and you feel slower, your clothes start getting a little tighter. But we also need to be okay with, if you are building muscle, you need a little bit of a fluff layer, because you need energy. You need energy to
Yeah.
come from somewhere.
Yeah, I think with women it's always so hard, no matter what the goal is. Like
Yeah.
just even everyday weight loss, and they see those things, and so many people want the quick fix, right? They're like, "Oh, well, I just want
Yeah.
to do this," and I'm like, "Well, there's no point, because you'll put it right back on, right? Like you have to do it slowly so that you can learn the habits, like you said, to maintain it, right? So when things come up, you're not going back and regaining all the weight."
Yeah.
And I think it's also for people to have a realistic goal of what their life looks like and what they want to look like, because
Yes.
sometimes they're not aligned. Like you can't look this way a lot of times and continue to live your life exactly how you are.
Yeah.
Like if you never
Yeah.
want to track anything and you never want to give up, you still want to go out for dinner every single night. Like it's like you can go out for dinner maybe once a week. You have to
Yeah.
understand that there is always compromise, right?
That's just it.
And
It's all choices. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you
For
have to
sure.
what it is that you want, right? And then at the
Yeah.
end of the day, if it's feeling better, which so many people say, and it's not true, because it's like you then weight shouldn't matter, right? Like how you actually look aesthetically shouldn't matter. Training
Because
two
it's the
times a
choices you
week
make.
and
Yeah.
and getting enough steps every day will reduce, your risk of mortality, and
Yeah.
will increase longevity, and will give you a better quality of life. But
Yeah.
then people are like, "Oh, but I still want to weigh what I weighed in high school." Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
crazy. And like, it's all just, I feel like, just making mindful choices. That's a huge thing.
Mhm.
Right. And especially with my clients, I teach that. I'm like, I have one client who's just terrible at tracking macros. So what I'll do is I'll write her out things that she needs to do every day, and we'll put a sticky note on her fridge, and she'll weigh out her stuff that way. So I know she's getting at least 1 or 2 good protein meals a day. But she's very mindful. But again, I'm kind of the same ways. Like if I know I'm training for something, I'm tracking my macros like crazy. Right now, yes, I'll track most of the week. There's maybe a couple of days where I won't, but I know those choices that I'm making are the same choices that I'd make whether I was tracking or not.
Yeah.
Right. So, and maybe I'll go over a little bit. Maybe I'll have a cookie today, but it's not so much of, I'm not eating 4 or 5 cookies. I'm making a small choice to have a little bit of a dessert that's going to make me happy, you know, up here, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you have a sweet tooth, have your sweet tooth, but do it in a way that you can burn it off later, or it's going to fit in your schedule. So for me, I love chocolate. So I'll have my yogurt with my chocolate chips on it before I go to the gym. Right. You're going to be using it as fuel. What a great way. You're still getting your sweet tooth in, or on the weekends. Sundays are my cheat meal days. So I can have a little bit more food than what but we have to make those little decisions. So my clients, I say, if you're at work Monday through Friday, schedule your prepped meals. At least we know we're consistent Monday through Friday. The weekends are going to be a little bit trickier because those are always the fun days for everybody. Pick one day to do your fun thing on. The other day, we're going to keep it consistent. And you can't fail. We have to have that one little happy day. And sometimes it's worth it. I call it my refeed day. If you're especially on a calorie deficit and you're having less and less calories all through the week, sometimes you need that extra bomb of carbs and energies and protein to just bring that back up, your energy level, and then restart again. And it really, really does help. And so many clients are like, what do you mean I can still eat my snack?
Yeah.
You can. There's a way you can do it that makes you still feel like you're hitting your goals and you're achieving them, but still making yourself happy. We don't want to take everything out of your day that you love. There's no reason.
There's no point
for it.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. I totally agree. It's always just about understanding and knowledge and, fitting in what you want, and sometimes, and being mindful, because so many people just eat so mindlessly that they don't even know, and they didn't even enjoy it. Right. Like you finish it. You're like, did I even eat that? And you're like, what was the point of that? Like, if you're not going to remember eating it, it might as well be chicken and broccoli. Right. Like,
exactly.
So sit down and eat and really enjoy it if it is a treat too. But yeah, it's definitely eye-opening, I think, when you do it yourself and when you're trying to teach others.
Yeah.
When you realize what they don't know, right?
And I think a lot of people get confused. Like people get confused and they're like, well, I don't want chicken and rice. Well, there's a million different ways you can cook chicken. It doesn't have to be chicken and rice. Like you can do, and I always tell my clients, I'm like, what's your favorite meal? Tell me your favorite meal. I'm going to make that meal for you, but I'm going to make it in a way that fits in your calories.
Yeah.
And they're blown away by it. What do you mean I can still have it? It's going to taste the exact same. I guarantee it. Or better. Sometimes it tastes better because you're feeling better about what you're eating. So you're feeling better, right? It tastes better because you're feeling better. So it's all relevant. And I don't like changing a whole lifestyle for no reason at all. There's no, we have to be happy in what we've built and what your goals are. Otherwise, what's the point of living?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So through all the last, I guess, when you start 24, was really 23, I guess, because you competed in 23 when you started your journey. So it's 3 years, really. So a lot has happened.
A lot has happened. Yeah.
And what do you think, or what would you want to leave listeners with as one of the biggest lessons that you've kind of learned through all of this? Because you've had a lot of ups and downs, right?
I want everyone just to know that what your brain is telling you is not always the truth, because I thought for so long, I'm 200 pounds, I'm 5'1". There's no way I would ever step on stage, ever. But little by little, trusting your body again and setting little goals every day, whether it means like, having a glass of water when you wake up, it makes a big difference. And we can push our bodies a lot further than what we think is capable physical wise.
Mm-hmm.
And if you eat healthy enough, you would be surprised how many medications we can actually get rid of, because your nutrition has so much more to do than what you're just putting in your body. It's your fuel source, it's your mental, it's your clarity, it's your hormones, it's everything that makes
Mhm.
your body tick. And if you're not fueling it properly, no wonder why everyone's crashing and burning or not feeling so good mentally, because it affects all of that.
Yeah.
And I also want people to know that sometimes it's okay to want to also go see a therapist. I was so against therapy when I first
Mm.
started, but I've gone a few times now, and it's not someone telling you what to do. It's someone guiding you and telling you that you're already doing it right, but here's a different way of processing.
Yeah.
And
Another
that's it.
perspective change.
That's just it. Yeah. And so all of these little things combined, your physical, your mental, are so important. And so if you make mindful choices and just give yourself a little bit of time to accept what your body is capable of, it's so good. And I promise you, if you give yourself even 6 months or even 3 months and just start somewhere, choose a day and do
Mm.
something for yourself, you're going to be so proud of yourself that day that you're going to want more.
Yeah. Well, I think that the biggest problem is people start with too much and then
That's it.
they can't keep going, right? And starting
Yeah.
with something small seems insignificant when that's where the big change really happens.
Yeah. And it's just the little steps along the way. The goals are great, but you have to enjoy the journey along the way because it is so worth it, and we are every single person on this earth is worth it. Whether you guys think so or not, you guys are loved and we are here to help you. So please reach out to either one of us. We want to help all of you just
Yeah.
achieve who you are, you know?
I have a few questions for you before we
Yeah.
end this incredible episode. First one is, do you think the version of you that will actually compete after all this be a better athlete because of the injury than despite it?
I've learned so much just from being off. Patience wise is a huge one. I have learned that sleep is probably one of the best things you could ever do for your body and how
Mm-hmm.
much that affects everything. But I just feel like I was living in like fast forward mode, and I wasn't allowing myself to process what I was going through at the time. I was just adding and adding and adding and adding and going through motions of things and then getting worn out and then getting agitated because I was worn out. And so I've just learned to just be more patient and just to understand that with an injury, you have to take a step back and you have to just appreciate everything that you have that is working for you, and just to enjoy little things, whether it just be sitting in the sun or in the backyard or listening to my kids stories fully and not just cutting
Mm-hmm.
them off because I'm busy doing something else. Like really giving my attention to what I'm working on is a huge thing. And I actually was told this summer that I talk too fast, and so for me that's kind of a cool thing to hear because I didn't realize it, and it goes hand in hand with what I was going through. So for me, I've really just tried to slow everything down and just kind of process everything better and be a better
Yeah.
person altogether. So I think, yes, going into the next season, I'm going to be a lot more patient and I'm going to allow my body to rest a lot more. But not only that, I am so much more appreciative of what other athletes are going through now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it always every time you talk about your story kind of reminds me of, and I don't know where I first read it, but there was like a quote or I heard it somewhere and it was kind of like, God will give you a lot of signs and if you don't take them, he'll force them upon you. When we don't take the signs that are clearly there for us,
Yeah.
whether it's, our health or relationships or work or any of those things, sometimes then those situations come up, whether it's an injury or a loss of a job or a health concern. And instead of looking at it in a way of why me, kind of understanding that maybe it's happening for me and it's happening
Yeah.
for you and not to you. And it's kind of was done because without that, maybe you never would have slowed down or,
Yeah.
and things could have gotten worse, maybe not in terms of an injury or health or different things, but worse maybe in just in a grand scheme of life and things that you would have missed.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And I think everything that's thrown at you is a life lesson, whether you choose to accept it or not.
Mhm.
And I think that things just keep repeating until you understand what the
Yeah,
lesson is.
until you
So
learn.
yeah, and so I think that's a huge part of what I have learned being off is that I just need to think about these things that are being thrown at me, and I need to take a step back and just really process what life is teaching me, because would I want to teach my clients these things? Would I want my kids to
Mhm.
know these things? And if I am not learning them, I'm not able to teach them to
Yeah.
anyone else. And so I don't want to be any better than anyone else in this life. But if I have knowledge to share, I want to share that knowledge, and I want someone else to face to
Yeah.
smile and light up with that knowledge. And if you can share it, why not? Right.
Yeah. And so this kind of leads into the next question. So for somebody that's listening right now who knows something in their life has to change, but they keep waiting to feel ready or motivated, what is one sentence you could say to them right now that you think they need to hear?
Start today. There's no right time. If you keep waiting, you're going to wait the rest of your life,
Yeah.
because if you have a goal and no one's going to hold your hand for that goal, you need to take the steps to achieve that goal. And if that means doing something like walking or research, or it can't hurt to have knowledge. And
Mhm.
so if you're unsure, reach out, ask questions, because the more you know, the better you'll have an understanding. And then from there, you can process. But if you don't know and you don't, if you have an idea, but you don't want to process what it is that you want to do, you're not going to get anywhere. So
Yeah.
for me, like when I started, like I knew gymnastics. I didn't know bodybuilding. I knew gymnastics.
Mhm.
That was my gym. And so for me, I've done so much research, whether it's reaching out to Olympians and asking questions, or former athletes when I competed. There's a few that I talk to from UFE still, and we go back and forth. George is a good one. He's wonderful as well. And it's nice to see a male's perspective too, right? So I
Yeah.
like to see different information from different, not just athletes, but coaches and lifestyle coaches and other, like, you know, husbands and wives, because it everything is different, and the more you can learn about something, the more you can implement it in your own life. And if you have goals, I say go for them. The bigger the better.
Yeah. So, final question. What's the biggest shift you've made that had absolutely nothing to do with your body?
Oh my goodness, the biggest shift that I have made that has nothing to do with my body is probably my relationship with my kids and my family.
Hmm.
I have opened my mind a lot more to spending a lot more time with my parents. And for a long time I wanted to cut them off, because, you know, I'm an adult now and I can do things on my own, and
Mhm.
that's how I thought it needed to be. And that's not the truth. I So many people are like, my mom's my best friend. I want that relationship with my mom, and so I've tried to contact her more and talk to her more and spend more time with her. But most importantly, my kids. They're off this summer, and what better way than to spend some time with them, because I'm also off. And this is the only opportunity that I'll probably ever have to have a summer off with them. And so I have been trying to do things, because I don't have a lot of money being on SNA right now. We've been trying to do things that are, you know, a lot less cost effective. So we went camping this year, and that was really fun. We go to the park a lot. We've been taking them fishing, just little things that, you know, your family can spend time doing. We
Yeah.
did little fishing tournaments. We went to the Dollarama and got little prizes and things, you know, little things like that, that they only get one childhood, and I want it to be one that they remember. So my husband and I have been spending a lot more time together. He went on study afternoons to spend time at home through the summer, which
That's
has been
nice.
lovely. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just finding who I am as a person and as a mom and as a wife, as a daughter, because
Mm.
those things are more important than any sport will ever be. And if your relationship with those people in your life are strong enough, nothing else will matter. So, you know, money aside, money doesn't rule the world. And I think that the people around you are what makes your whole world go. So that's my main thing to everyone, is that if you don't have anyone around you, contact somebody.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've had so many people that they're like, thank you for believing in me. Well, I didn't do much. I just had a conversation. You know what? But that's all it takes. It's all it takes. Smile at someone, ask them how their day is going. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what an amazing note kind of to end the show on. And I think that's beautiful. And I think it's so needed to be said too. I think so many people get to adulthood and think that they just are who they are and that they can't change. And
Yeah.
changing your body and your health is one thing, but really changing your identity, because that's what it is, right? Of who
Yeah.
you are and who you choose to be, and sharing that with others so they know that, it's available to anybody. You can
Yeah.
always choose to be someone different. It's not easy, and it doesn't mean it's not without, work, that some of that preconditioning isn't there. But
Yeah.
just like changing your body, it happens with one choice, one phone call, one text, one relationship at a time. And slowly we can create those relationships and the identities that, that we all want. Um,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it too, like if you're afraid of talking to people that you know, there are so many people online that are willing to support you. It is unreal. And you know what? Some people are going to be backlashy, that's fine, but you don't have to respond to any of those people online. Delete their conversations, hide those comments. That's all I do. I don't ever respond to anything negative because I don't want anything negative on my pages or around me, and that's just a personal choice. That's
mhm.
not to say there's never been negative comments on my posts or anything like that. But you know what? Delete them.
Yeah.
Delete them.
It's
They
your
don't
it's your
exist
page and
anymore.
your post, right? You
Absolutely,
get to
right? And
control
that's where
that.
we go wrong is like, yes, people love the back and forth of, oh, there's, so much controversy on this because now I'm getting,
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want any negativity around my life. I don't want any negativity around my clients or bodybuilding or my kids or my family. And I'm just going to delete it. And I think everyone in their lives has this opportunity to, if you don't like something, take a step back.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Own Your Shift podcast. If you want to connect with Amanda, all her details will be available in the show description. Thank you for tuning in to the Own Your Shift podcast. If this show resonated with you, please like or share it with a friend. And until next time, own your shift and stay strong.